Mehdi here again. So we would like to start our series with the listening skill, and today is our first mini lesson. So the table of contents, at first we're going to discuss how your listening skill in IELTS is evaluated, what are the criteria, and in the second part we're going to discuss the differences among those four sections and how you can get prepared and what the differences are among them and different criteria about the listening skill of IELTS test. So in today's mini session, we would like to discuss the listening skill and the different sections and the criteria for evaluation of each one of those skills and the differences among the sections and this and that. Okay, so in IELTS, we have 4 sections, and each section has 10 questions. So section 1, 10 questions, section 2, 3 and 4, and maximum number of questions is 40. So another thing is that in IELTS, some people ask it, does it have a negative mark if you answer them wrongly? No, the answer is no. So you can do both for reading and listening. You can answer the questions. If you're uncertain, it's okay to make guesses, but be careful, try to be more accurate if you would like to have better scores, but there would be no negative marks for your incorrect choices. So another thing is that, so how is it? How many minutes is it? It's almost 30 minutes, and it's the first skill which is being tested in your session. So yeah, and you'll be provided with 2 things. One of them is the answer sheet, another one is the booklet. So it's normally recommended that you answer the questions inside the booklet because you will have more control, you will definitely have better accuracy rate that way. So you can analyze, you can take notes. Nobody's going to do anything with your booklet, so make sure that you take notes, you underline if you think that you would like to mark some parts before getting ready, you're getting prepared for each one of those questions. And so you make sure that you take notes about them and you know what sort of information you are about to listen to. And then after it's finished, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answer through your answer sheet. So there's you shouldn't be worried about it. You'll have 10 minutes in the end to do so. So I've seen some people try to answer them inside the answer sheet from the very beginning. You can do it, but it's not very recommended. So, and now we would like to talk about the differences among the sections. But let's say before the differences among the sections, I would like to say, so are there any differences between the evaluation of each one of those sections? No, they're all evaluated the same. So question number 1 has the same value of question number 32, but I can say that, the tasks, let's say, are gradually, for the most part, from some perspectives, are getting gradually harder. So, yeah, you can say, because task 1 and 2 are mostly about everyday conversation, so they are situated and located in very everyday conversation context. But tasks 3 and 4 are more of academic context, so probably they might be a bit more challenging to do tasks 3 and 4. So, as I mentioned earlier, task 1, this is a conversation between 2 people, usually set in an everyday conversation. So there's going to be a dialogue between 2 people. Somebody's calling someone to ask for the price. It might be you might like to do some reservations. Not you, the speakers in the listening track might be asking for some reservations, booking a hotel, so that sort of thing. And in the second part, so there is one thing to mention, and you should be careful about. So in listening section, I said there are 4 sections, but yeah, section was got 10 questions. These 10 questions can be in 2 different sets or one thorough set, such as, let's say, how. So 10 questions, 1 note completion, there would be big notes, and you'd like to fill in those questions, or 5 of them might be a note completion, and 5 of those questions might be a diagram labeling or a flowchart or that sort of thing. So this is all about task 1 About task 2, it's a monologue, still in an everyday conversation. It's a daily conversation, social context, but it's a monologue. So what about that monologue? A person might be introducing a sort of product or a tour, or might give some information in that sort of context. So it is a monologue, but the words and the context that you're going to be exposed to is not going to be very academic, and they're about everyday or social context. And yeah, this is all about task 1 and 2. Okay, so we talked about task 1 and 2, and now let's talk about task 3 and 4. The point about task 3 and 4 is that these two tasks are mostly, situated in an academic context. So you're going to be exposed to academic words and academic context. For instance, in task 3, there's going to be a conversation among up to maximum 4 people. It's normally 3, but it's maximum 4 people. So you can think of an example of like a university lecturer is talking to 2 students who are probably working on the same project, or any other thing. So it's going to be a professor and 2 students or 3 students. So what you need to be really careful about in task 3 is to be mindful of how they respond to one another, because sometimes they use some transition words like both of them like this, one of them likes this one, or you need to be careful about these things. So interactions among the speakers is really important here, and you may miss some things here. Some very subtle changes could result in inaccuracies, so be careful. So that's all about task 3. What about task 4? So if you remember, task 2 is a monologue, which was about an everyday conversation context, if you remember. And now task 4 is the same, but here, again, as I said earlier, is about academic is in an academic context. So in task 4, you're going to hear a university lecturer talking about various topics such as global warming, water contamination, environmental hazards, or many, that academic context is a very widespread domain, isn't it? So you might be exposed to any of those, so knowing academic context in different fields could be really helpful. But it's a monologue, and there's one person talking, and you need to be able to keep up with the pace of the speaker, how he switches the topic, how he has designed, how he started, how he continues, and provides you with specific supports and details, and how he wraps it up. So it's being able to, if you remember last session I explained about being able to take notes. Here, no, you're not going to take notes about it, but you need to be able to analyze a mass of data. And then you need to be able to jot down, if you wish, and being able to decode it, in fact, if you want to be successful. And about testing, so I explained about this earlier, that there are no differences between tests, so each test has the same value, and there are 40 questions. How are you going to be evaluated? You can go back to the end of Cambridge tests books, and then you will see, for instance, 30 to 31, and there's no difference between academic and general in the listening module. So if you answer 31 questions, for instance, it's definitely a 7. There is a formula for this, but there's also a range. So the ranges there are some, because it's, this range, when it says 30, like 29 to 31 can be 7 out of 40. So 21 rarely becomes a 7, but 31 is 80, 90, over 90% is a 7. So if you want to secure your score, you need to always make sure that you can get 2 points higher. So if you want to go for 7 at home, you need to be able to do 33, 34 or more. The more the better. So because the test day, you might have you might be stressed out, you might panic a bit. So it's always recommended that you can answer more than your target, so that you can secure your target that way. So you need to be careful with all of those matters, task 1, 2, 3 and 4, and about the testing I told you. And you can take a look at the back of the books and look at those range. I can also give you the formula, but the formula would not always be the answer. And I want you to always be prepared for what your score is. So if you want a 6.5, make sure you can answer 31, 32 at home, which is a 7, so you can guarantee a 6.5, or any other scores like that. So you can go to the back of the books and see what that range is, or the formula is going to be times 4 divided by 40. It will give you that one. So which is not going to work for here, and I want you to adjust yourself not only with those but also with higher scores. That's it. So to wrap up, we talked about 4 different sections of IELTS test. You're going to be 40 questions. Each task is going to be 10 questions, and there's going to be a booklet. There's going to be an answer sheet in the end. You're required to answer those through your booklet first, or it is, let's say, it's recommended, not required. You're not required, and then you can transfer your answers in the end through into your answer sheet, which is you're going to have 10 minutes. So there's no need to panic or be worried about that, because it's that amount of time is sufficient. And you also need to be careful with your spelling, because if the word that you write has got a wrong spelling, obviously you're not going to get the score of that, or there might be some of these things. So if you are required to write down any of those gap fills, for instance, you need to make sure that you're specifically for those 1 or 2 questions that we're going to discuss later. If they spell those words for you, you need to write them correctly, otherwise you would miss the point for that question. And the final thing is that whatever your target is, be prepared for more than that. So in the next session, we're going to discuss some ways for practicing your listening, how you can enhance and foster your listening skill. And what are the criteria? How can I do this? And what 3 methods I can work on to secure a good score in my listening exam, in the IELTS test, or in other sorts of tests. I told you there are not many differences, but if you get prepared for this one, you'll need just the final test adjustments if you want to switch to another task or another sort of test. Thank you very much for watching this week, and I'll show you the wrap-up of the whole session after this. And hopefully I'll see you next week, and please subscribe to YouTube channel. I'll put part of this video on Instagram, and which is IELTS Booster, and then I will upload it on my YouTube channel. So please subscribe it and share it with your partners if you find them useful. So that's it. I wish you a wonderful week, and see you next week. Bye bye.